Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 9. All right, finished with week 8, officially halfway through. I am so proud of you guys being on top of staying in the forum, staying on top of all the course stuff, working diligently ahead on your practicum hours. It's great. You guys are doing really well. So, this week we're talking about a competency that deals with functioning as a change agent and a leader, right? And so sometimes I might have students ask me, okay, so I'm going to school for my MSN to be a nurse educator, change agent and leader. What does that have to do with me, right? So a couple things. First of all, if even if you don't go right into an educator role, okay, let's say you're into patient education, whatever. Once people in your organization find out that you have an MSN, it's like, we have another person to call upon. So you might be asked to serve on committees or help with projects. And in those things, you are going to need those leadership and change agent type of skills, even if you're not in the educator role. And then when you're in the educator role, if you just looked at all those subtasks that are part of this competency, you can see how it directly ties to education. Some of the things I like about those tasks are advocating for change. You guys are going to be coming out with some of the most current information about education. So either within your organization, institution, whatever, you may go in and say, hey, these things aren't necessarily the best. I want to propose some new ideas. So advocating for change. And we already talked about being a lifelong learner. And so you're going to be continually having exposure to things that maybe you'll want to change. There's also one about enhancing the visibility of nursing. And I think this is one that all nurses and nurse leaders have a hand in some way. Whenever you have an opportunity to write an article, present some information, talk up nursing, we definitely need more nurses, right? This shortage is kind of perpetual. So anyway, that enhancing the visibility of nursing is part of any educational offering that you might put forward. And then participates in interdisciplinary efforts. And we all know that while nursing might be the core of patient care, we can't do it all ourselves. So a lot of times quality improvement efforts may be across the board education efforts, maybe creating education materials. A lot of those things are being done more and more in an interdisciplinary manner. And so we need to do that. Every once in a while, we get a little bit of conflict between enhancing the visibility of nursing and participating in interdisciplinary efforts. There are still some parts of nursing where I think nursing doesn't always get its fair share of recognition. And so we have this a little bit of tension between wanting to toot our horn for nursing and say, yay, nursing, but also acknowledging the roles of the other healthcare team members and how important they are to patient success. So every once in a while, we might feel that tension, particularly maybe when we're teaching about interdisciplinary processes. Okay. All right, so then one of the main thrusts of this is change agent, right? And I hope that you've learned by now that change tends to occur better or be more effective when a change theory is used. Now for me, my favorite is good old Lewin. Unfreezing, changing, removing, and refreezing. And that's been expanded to include multiple steps. Let me tell you why I like Lewin's model. I might get really excited about a change, okay? And I've reached the point where I want to share this with other people and hopefully get some buy-in. Well, sometimes when I want a change to go forward, I forget that I have spent a lot of time with that change idea. I've reviewed the literature, I've bounced around the pros and cons, and I'm committed. This is the way to go. But if I share with other people this change idea, they haven't had the time to spend with the change idea and get to know it and get all that information. So I need to be sure to allow for that unfreezing and not just expect colleagues to be immediately on board. Okay, this is especially true for staff nurses who maybe really like the status quo and are experts in the status quo, and you want to come in and shake up their world a little bit for the betterment of patient care. But still, we know that when we use change models, change happens more effectively. And when we use change models, we're also, I think, more open to acknowledging possible problem areas with the change, seeking and really incorporating first-line team member input when we use a change model. So my favorite one is Lewin. You guys are going to be change agents and leaders. So you need to have a change model that you especially espouse, that appeals to you, that speaks to you. So our class question for this week is, as you see yourself graduating from the program and going into whatever role you're seeking, academia, clinical, whatever, what change model do you feel that you could comfortably use in that new role? So that's the question for this week. All right, no assignments for this week. Keep plugging away. You've just turned in your NEPD forms, and so I'll be reviewing them and getting you some feedback, and we'll just move on. I'll see you in the main forum.